Hello pot stickers! If you like fusion foods like I do, you're gonna love this recipe. Today I'm making empanadas with a Korean twist. Here in the Americas, we're most familiar with the empanadas from South America, from places like Argentina. Did you know that empanadas are originally from Spain? The word empanada comes from the Galician word empanar, which means literally to embread or to wrap in bread. In Spain, they would be filled with things like meats and cheeses or vegetables and things like that. And they were brought over to South America by the Spanish, where they continued the tradition of making these meat-filled pies. For this recipe, I've taken the inspiration from the South American empanada and I've stuffed it with Korean flavors. I've created a meaty, spicy filling using soy curls, and I've flavored that with ginger and garlic, and I put in some potatoes and some well-fermented kimchi. I've wrapped that all up in a homemade pastry dough and baked them in the oven, and they turned out so good. Let me show you. Let's start with the dough. If you do a little searching on empanada recipes, you're gonna find all kinds of variations of this dough, and you really can't go wrong with any of them. I prefer a lighter pastry dough, so we're gonna make a short crust buttery pastry dough to wrap our filling in. I'm taking 2 cups of all-purpose flour and adding into that a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm not putting in too much salt because my butter also has salt in it. Mix this together and then add a half a cup or 8 tablespoons of very cold plant-based butter. I'm using my pastry cutter to cut this into the flour. You want to cut this with the flour into very small pieces. Once that has been coarsely cut in, I'm going to rub the flour and butter between my fingers to sort of make little thin sheets of butter in the flour. This is going to help the dough be flakier. Don't overdo this step. You don't want the heat of your hands to melt the butter. Stir in just enough ice cold water until the dough starts to clump together. In total, my dough took about 2/3 of a cup of water to get to the right consistency. You don't want a sticky dough. You want it just to be slightly moist, and it will hold together if you squeeze it and clump it together. Place this on the board and gently knead this for about 30 seconds until the dough comes together and becomes slightly smooth. Do not over knead this or your dough will come out tough and it won't be light and flaky like you want it. Shape it into a disc and wrap it in plastic wrap and refrigerate this for at least 30 minutes. Longer is fine. You could make this the day before if you want to. For the meaty part of my filling, I'm using 1 cup of soy curl crumbs. These are the small little bits that end up on the bottom of the bag of soy curls. I keep those and use them for any recipe that I'm looking for the texture of, say, ground beef or ground pork. Add a cup or a little more of water. I'm seasoning the soy curls with 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of Maggi seasoning. If you don't have Maggi seasoning, it's fine. You can just use 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Mix this well and let it hydrate for about 15 minutes. To season the filling more with some of those Asian flavors, I'm chopping up 4 cloves of garlic and about 1 inch of fresh ginger. If you don't have fresh, you certainly could use dried garlic powder and ginger powder. Mix this into the soy curls well. I'm also finely chopping 1/2 of a medium onion and adding that to the soy curls. Oftentimes the filling for Asian dumplings will have noodles or rice to give some body to the filling. Instead of that, I'm actually going to use a potato, so I'm cutting up 1 medium potato into a very small dice. I want this small so that the chunks aren't too big and that it will cook very quickly. That gets mixed into the soy curls as well. Now it's time for cooking. Heat a skillet over medium heat and add a little bit of oil. Cook the soy curl mixture until it all comes together and the potatoes and the onions are just softened. This took me about 7 or 8 minutes to get to the right texture. Transfer this back to the bowl and let it cool down. Now we're going to take this filling to the next level. Take 1 cup of well-fermented sour kimchi and chop it really fine. You can use fresh kimchi too if you don't like it too sour, but I just love the tanginess from my homemade kimchi after it's fermented for at least a month in the refrigerator. Add the chopped kimchi to the soy curls and then add in about a 1/4 cup of kimchi juice from the jar. This is going to help provide a little more moisture and flavor to your filling. Mix this together really well and your filling is all ready to go. Okay, let's roll out the dough. Take your chilled dough out of the refrigerator and place it on a floured board. Because of the size of my board, I'm cutting this in half and I'm going to roll it out into 2 batches. Using just enough flour to keep things from sticking, roll your dough out until it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, or that's about 3 to 4 millimeters if you're on the metric system. Cut out your wrappers using any kind of round mold that you want. I'm just using a wide mouth mason jar lid to cut my dough wrappers. These will make a small appetizer sized empanada. This is about the smallest size of empanada I like to use. You could certainly make yours bigger if you want, but I'm taking these to a party where they're going to be just small little bite-sized appetizers. And if you don't want to roll out and cut your own wrappers, there's a shortcut. You can buy the large dumpling wrappers from your local Asian store and use those. Now they won't be as flaky and light as the pastry dough, but it will certainly work for these empanadas. To stuff the empanada, take a round dough wrapper and place about a spoonful of filling in the center. Fold it over and make a half moon shape and pinch it closed. Then take a fork and press the tines in to seal the edge. As you can see, I'm not great at filling these, but they turned out great anyway. So don't worry if yours don't look perfect. They'll look fantastic when you're done cooking them, and they will taste delicious. Place your filled empanadas on a sheet pan lined with parchment paper. Bake these in a 200 degrees Celsius oven, that's about 400 degrees Fahrenheit, until they are just golden brown. This takes about 20 to 25 minutes. If your oven isn't very even, go ahead and turn them halfway through the cooking. And here they are, Korean empanadas. You can serve them hot or cold. They are good just like this, or you could serve it with any kind of dipping sauce that you like. I took these to a party recently as a room temperature appetizer, and they were a hit. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of my recipes, please click the like button and then subscribe so that you don't miss out on any more episodes. Just click the like button, it helps a lot. Okay, that's a wrap. That would be a wrap.